right, here we go. We are the Extremists. This is Silo episode 4. We're talking about it. This show is on Apple Plus for people that don't know where to find it. If you're actually listening to this show, this episode, you should have already watched episode 4 of Silo.
Titled The Truth.
Titled
just,
The Truth.
Just Truth.
Truth. Real quick, this is a good time for me to talk about our Patreon page. If you like what you're listening, if you like what you're hearing, and you want to hear more, you want us to continue doing this, feel free to go check out our Patreon page. Help us out a little bit financially. That would be appreciated. If you can't do that, can't send us any money, no worries. Just hit the subscribe button, hit the likes, hit the follows, share with your friends, spread the word. That's all we ask. Okay, here we go. Real quick, Max, before we talk about the show, do you want to tell me about anything that's happening in your life right now?
Man, my back's hurting. I go see the doctor in the morning. Well, not for my back, just my yearly physical. I'm not looking forward to that because I got one of those doctors. He's like hard-nosed, brutally honest, like, dude, you need to drop another 20 pounds. Like, I think a couple of years ago, he was like, dude, the weight I need you to be at is not even realistic for you, man. So I'm just going to tell it to you, but you do what you want with it. Like, nice. Okay. So he's going to probably berate me, He's like, he's probably going to tell me I need to lose more weight, which I do. And, but it is what it is, man.
My doctor moved, so I have to find a new doctor.
Oh, you should go to my guy. He'll be brutally honest with you.
Nah, that's all right. I already know I got to lose 50 pounds. Okay. So this episode, let's dive into it. This episode didn't have quite the mystery elements that the other episodes did as far as we're talking about what's happening on the outside, like the movement as far as the history of the silo and stuff. We did learn some things as far as like some people know what Romeo and Juliette play is. Some people don't. Like little things like that.
You get a little bit of Juliette's backstory.
A little bit of Juliette's backstory.
And a little mystery at your end. A little bit.
Little bit. But let's talk about how it starts. So we get the confirmation that the mayor is dead, right? And Marnes is not a happy camper because he finally made a move on her after 40 some odd years. They finally got to a point where, hey, maybe they're going to consummate this relationship.
Yeah.
Who knows?
Who cares about sanctions?
Maybe they're going to file to see if they can try for a kid. I don't know.
No, I don't think so, man.
I don't know.
I don't think that technology's there in this world.
Could be. Who knows? But so you come to find out that she did pass, and Marnes is under he thinks that she was poisoned with rat poisoning.
Rat poison.
But he does think that he was actually the target, not her.
Oh, he thinks both were.
No, he thinks he was, because remember we mentioned in the beginning.
It was both because his bottle was leaking. That's why he said he would be dead as well if the bottle in her book bag wasn't leaking, because he would have drank out of that. Because if you remember last episode, when he tried to drink, he's like, "Oh, your bottle's leaking. Put it back in." So when he was talking with Sims and what's the new mayor's name, Tim Robbins' character, he was like, "I would be lying there too if
Bernard,
I would be lying there too if her bottle wasn't leaking." So they both were getting poisoned. Were supposed to get poisoned.
I missed that part.
Yeah.
I thought he was under the impression that he was the target and she got caught in the crossfire.
Yeah, no, they're both
because
they're switching
because his bottle was in her bag, which is smart actually.
Yeah,
like opposite bottles in the bag, so that when you're walking with a counterpart, all the person should turn around and you could just drink. And
because he said they went. It happened in the mids when they were at the deputy station, probably, or at some point when they were walking down.
Yeah, and he's asking Holland, Tim Robbins, he wants a list of all the
people who had gripes.
People that had gripes in the 50 floor, or like within 50 floors.
50 levels,
50 levels, which I thought they walked way more than that.
Oh, for sure.
Because they came from pretty much on the top all the way down to the bottom.
Well, he's assuming it's somebody in the mids. That's why he's saying.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
That's why he wants anybody who had any gripes with him, because he can't imagine that she had many enemies. So anything, he's just
right. So he's got some suspects already in his mind though, because we come to find out later who he actually goes after and stuff. But so it's interesting because Juliette shows up. She was actually, it looked like she might have been going to talk to her dad, because she's standing in front of the medical center.
Yep.
And it looks like she's refilling her bottle. It looks like there's a water refill thing in the front.
Oh, I didn't even notice that.
Yeah. And so she's standing in front, but then it looks like a messenger comes and tells her, "Hey, you're needed into the mayor's office. Something happened." So maybe she was going to go see dad. Who knows?
So dad's in the mids, right?
dad. I mean, he's got to be high mids though. I mean, he's
Yeah.
a doctor.
Maybe
He's gotta
high
be
mids,
So anyways, so that's Juliette shows up to the mayor's office, and that's when she finds out, that the mayor passed. And it turns out that Tim Robbins Holland, he's the one that called for her, even though he wasn't a fan of the choice. He's going to honor the mayor, and elect and basically swear her in, because now he's going to be temporary mayor until they hold elections to get the new mayor. So
why do you think he's doing that? Do you think it's because he doesn't want any more instability, or he's just
it might
trusting he has an inclining that maybe she's okay for this job?
I think maybe maybe a little bit of both. Maybe not necessarily her character, but I think he might have trusted the mayor's character on the choice that she made. But then also remember, he's a numbers person. So remember, he said every single minute that there's not a mayor, we're going we're going like 1 point closer to chaos.
So the instability.
So I think he's going to trust the mayor's decision because of, he respected her, and because it's the fastest way maybe to get it done. I don't think it's the fastest way. I think that he could have sworn in the person that judicial wanted.
They keep bringing up that guy's name.
Yeah, which I'm sure he's going to show up at some point.
Yeah.
But anyway, so he decides to honor that, which I thought that was interesting.
Yeah. Especially with the mayor on the floor murdered.
Yeah.
You're going to go with an inexperienced cop to be the sheriff on probably the murder of the century for them.
Yeah, it's got to be pretty darn close. I mean, we don't know about any other murders that have happened, and that's that's the mayor's being murdered.
Yeah.
And Marnes is not happy about this.
He breaks a chair with his bare hands.
It's a 140-year-old chair at
minimum. Yeah.
I feel like it was lucky people stood. I mean, people might not have been able to sit in that. It might have just been decoration. We don't know.
He's pissed because he's obviously been in love with her for years.
It took him how long to be able to, and he didn't even make the move. Yeah. Now remember, the mayor made the move.
She made the move.
He's been sitting drawing her in corners like a creeper. So he finally got his wish, and it gets taken away from him like
he thought a couple of bottles just a few moments earlier. He was taking 2 bottles. They're gonna have
all night.
They're gonna have a hell of a time, but unfortunately, didn't end up where he wanted to.
Well, it is a bummer. I like the mayor.
I feel bad for him.
I like the mayor. It seems like, man, they're dropping like flies. So you've got
Allison.
You got Allison died, and then you got Halston is dead, and now you've got
George.
George is dead, and now you've got the mayor.
Yeah.
What's the mayor's name again?
Mayor Jahns.
Mayor Jahns.
With an A.
Yeah. I wonder who's going to be next episode.
It
seems like we just don't even care. We're just dropping bombs. And it could be, going off of how this show or how this episode ends. We might have another one start the next episode, but we'll see. So anyways, Juliette is now going to be the new sheriff. So I believe she stops over at the office, and she tries to, she's not even wasting. You pointed out she's not even wasting time.
No,
she's right off the bat looking for the file.
She's not subtle. She has no charisma, no office etiquette. She's like storming in, and she's rummaging through stuff, and I guess the lead secretary there is not a big fan of hers, right? Of her, what she's doing. Yeah,
I don't, and it's kind of hard to tell if maybe
Sandy.
Yeah, maybe it's because maybe there's this. How do I say this? There's maybe this snobbiness. Maybe because they're on an upper level and she's from a lower level. There could be something with that.
But she's not born there. She was born in the mids.
But I don't think she
cares.
knows
that. I don't think she maybe
whether
knows
she's
that.
born in the mids. I don't think she cares. I think that's where she's ascending from.
Yeah.
I feel like it would be nice maybe like when everyone goes to school, because it's simple. Like there's obviously a school system. I'm assuming because we did see a school record when we actually got to see the
Drogs Wilkes file.
Yeah. That maybe some of these people should go take a tour of what happens down in the bottom, because if those people in the bottom aren't doing what they're supposed to be doing, there ain't no top, there ain't no mids.
That doesn't happen in real world. It won't happen in the silo.
It should happen in the silo. So anyways, so it could be that, or it could be that she's just so still, trying to get over the fact that the sheriff kind of took his own life and stuff. And
it's only been a couple of days.
Yeah, it hasn't been that long.
And it's a outsider coming in to be your boss who's not even in the profession. So it's like you said it while we're watching. Change is hard, and this is a drastic change.
Maybe she's also very territorial. Maybe
Of course she is.
Female doesn't want another female, and I don't know.
Well, I don't know if it's that, but it could be that. But it could be she's head of that. She runs the office, as you could tell. Like she was the central hub of making that office hum. And now you get somebody who doesn't know procedures. She wasn't a cop. She's from the deep down below. It's like it's a lot to handle there. She's not being very professional.
She's not.
And Juliette kind of handles herself well in their interaction, but
she does. She reminds her that, hey, I'm your boss.
Yeah,
I need these things. Blah blah blah. She's also limited on what she can actually get right now, because even the secretary is like, I'm not going to give you the code to the safe until you're actually sworn in.
Yeah.
So you're kind of not really my boss at the moment. Actually, I don't think she actually says the boss thing until the next time she's in there.
Yeah, she just says,
it's late. We're doing this thing at 2:00 in the morning. We have no idea what's happening in life right now.
It's like, yeah, she's basically saying, until you officially become the sheriff, there's things you shouldn't have access to, which is proper procedure, I'm assuming.
Right.
It's all good.
Let's jump. You know what? Let's go ahead. Let's talk about Juliette's past really fast. Let's just
there's a lot of flashback in this episode.
Instead of bouncing back, flashback to flashback, let's just handle all the flashback stuff right now. So we actually get to see.
It starts off with her brother being sick, and her her mom and father are kind of like making sure he's okay. Yeah, asking him typical questions, like as if he's a quarterback who just got his bell rung. Right. So
it's. So I think we might have been under the impression that he might have drowned. It doesn't look like that was the case. Why
they didn't show him how he died yet.
No, but it seemed like he had some kind of condition that he was kind of maybe battling.
Yeah, they didn't make it any clear.
Yeah, not clear, but it doesn't seem like I think we thought maybe he died in a bathtub or something, but I don't think that was the case. I guess maybe
we don't know yet.
Oh, you're challenging me. Okay, fine. Whatever.
Until they say it, how can you know what it is?
I just feel like he just ended up, like, the way I'm interpreting it is he was battling a condition and he lost the battle.
It could be cancer.
And
then
it could be
anything.
Mom maybe later on decided that she maybe took her life.
Until they show me otherwise, I'm going to stick to the drowning thing, because her fear of drowning is real. It comes from somewhere. And, you know, they're in the silo, and, there has to be something to that, because why would she have this fear of drowning over the last 2 episodes when there's obviously no oceans or pools around? So there's something there. Okay. I'll stick to that until until the show tells me how he died.
Okay. All right. Well, they both pass away.
Yeah.
And so it seems like the dad isn't handling it probably the best that he can. As far as, being a father figure and comforting her and stuff like that.
And a busy man. He's the doctor. He's the delivery doctor.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like there's a lot of days off for him.
No.
So anyway, she's kind of, I guess, thrust into the responsibility of taking care of, like, the mom's belongings, and same thing with the brother's belongings.
Yeah, the father, he asked her to.
Yeah, and it's a tough thing, especially to have a child do that, but it seems like that's just the way it is in the silo. Like if someone's not around to use these things, you donate them for somebody else who can use these things.
Makes total sense.
It does make total sense. Because somebody we know, like, is going to need a new chair at some point, and if you've got a chair that person sat in, the chair's going to break.
Even shoes, clothes, anything. You didn't
get my chair joke?
No.
You understand my chair joke?
No, I did not.
Yeah, people breaking chairs with their hands all the time.
Marnes.
So it's like, come on,
Marnes.
you need a new chair. Anyway, so it's her responsibility to do it. She takes it down to the donation center or the scrapyard, whatever. I can't remember what they're calling it. And she's trying to make it just kind of as a matter of fact kind of thing. Yeah. Like, hey, this is I just got to do this. And I obviously,
you know what I noticed? I think the father just told her to pack the stuff, but she took it upon herself to even bring it down.
Yeah, I think you're right.
I think she said pack mom's stuff. And
either way,
explained it, but she took the initiative to not only pack it, but to go down by herself and dump it. I don't think he meant her to do all of that.
But still, just to pack it, I feel like just to pack it might even be worse than actually, like, just hauling it down.
Oh, big time! This episode. We're a little late on these episodes. Father's Day is this weekend. He's not.
What are you doing for Father's Day?
I don't know. Let's not. We'll talk about that. I don't know, but. I don't want to say he's a bad father, because it's a tough situation when a parent loses their partner and a child, and he's not obviously coping with it well, because he's not being there for the daughter, and she has to now become an adult when she's still not ready to. So it's a tough decision. It's a tough thing for both of them. Like the fact that you're going to ask your daughter to pack your wife's things is kind of like I'm looking at it as almost like a cop out. Like, dude,
that's how I took it.
You should be doing that. And, you shouldn't even have her pack the brother's things because she's 13. That's a lot of emotional stuff to handle. You should, when you come home from work, you should go and do that. And then, you could bring it down or do it together at least and have that and use that as a time to help your daughter grieve. It's not like, hey, do me a favor, for the good of the silo. Pack your mom's crap and your brother's crap, and I'll see you for dinner. That's kind of like a cop out. And throughout these flashbacks, I feel like he cops out as a father.
I agree.
He's not in his, and I love the actor. I mentioned last week he's Teen Titans Batman, so that's cool.
Glenn.
Yeah, he kills the Joker in there. Spoiler.
Oh my god.
and he was great in Game of Thrones, so great actor. He does a great job being that kind of distant father, but not a good job.
So really fast. Juliette decides to keep one of her brother's things, which is like this little stuffed dog.
Yeah.
You think they got dogs in the silo?
I don't think so, man.
Okay, so if they're not really telling people like history, because we don't even remember, they don't even know what birds are.
No.
Do you think the dogs come up in a conversation like, oh, I heard like back in the day
these were pets.
These were pets for people, so we made these little animals for you.
Yeah. I don't know what kind of education system they have in there, but I'm not putting it past them not to like know what a dog is.
Right, but you mentioned the chicken stuff. Like,
yeah, they have eggs.
They got eggs.
In this episode, they had a flashback.
So their chickens aren't categorized as birds. They're just.
Yeah, I think it's because.
They just think birds just don't fly.
Yeah, or they don't categorize. I think that's a luxury of to start categorizing an animal past what it is. Like a dolphin is a mammal also. No, it's just a dolphin. We don't have time to go 2-3 layers deep and what family and what species it's in, So I think it's just chicken. Chicken is just chicken. It doesn't have to be categorized as anything but a chicken.
I know we talked about this in previous episodes, but there's got to be a better explanation on why they don't know certain things. Because it's only 3 generations.
It's embarrassing.
It is.
It's embarrassing, bro.
It's got to be like judicial is just warping people's minds or something.
You mentioned some people don't know Juliette is from Romeo and Juliet. Some do. You guys didn't go through the same educational system? Like, what's up? Or did your parents like talk about something they weren't supposed to talk about?
Right.
And these didn't? Like, it's a shamble. But let's go back to the flashbacks.
So anyways, Juliette decides, after she kind of goes into a little bit of altercation with her dad, when her dad comes home, she's burning the eggs, but she's fixing the chair, and he's mad because she's burning eggs and she's working on a chair.
Out of spite.
And there's this emotional thing going back and forth because obviously he's trying to deal with the loss and she's trying to deal with the loss. And
I don't think he's trying to deal with the loss.
He's basically just wants it to be matter of fact. It seems like, well, hey, they're gone. It's broken. We can't fix it. It's that's how things are. That's how it's going to be. Kind of deal with it. And it's almost like he's saying that to her, but he's actually talking to himself at the same time. Like, hey, we just got to deal with it. Like, this is it. And that's obviously not something that you want from any kind of a parent figure.
Leader or anything.
Yeah, but you want your parent to go there and give you a hug and kind of hold you and kind of like tell him like, hey, this sucks, but we're going to get through it. We're going to be okay. He's not doing that because obviously he's dealing with his own crap.
And so far we've learned a lot of things in the show without them telling us. Like everybody seems to have a shadow. Whatever your job is, you have a shadow, right?
I think in mechanical you do. I don't know if you.
Even in recycling, I think things pass on by people,
by generation families. So was she supposed to be the shadowing of delivering babies?
No, my thing is, I think there's probably somebody who's shadowing the doctor, especially in an important position like that. Because what happens if he gets hit by a runner and breaks his neck going down the stairs? There's probably a shadow. He should have had a couple of days where he's like, hey, I'm not coming into the office because I got to take care of crap at home.
There can't be a delivery every day.
Exactly.
There can't be.
Exactly, because you're trying to limit the amount of people in this silo. Come on, dude. There's nurses. You probably have your shadow. The apprentice who's learning to take your spot. Right. Take a day off and Be a parent.
But to be fair, also
he's a slacker, man.
But to be fair, also like baby doctors
dad.
are baby doctors aren't just there for deliveries.
Of course,
they're there to monitor the entire pregnancy and stuff.
But
so there's
you have
nurses,
you got ultrasounds, I think there's probably a shadow or somebody who's going to replace him down the line. He's just a horrible dad. I'll call it for what it is.
I mean, horrible's pretty tough. I think he's just dealing with some stuff in his own. Now,
Dude, he's a horrible dad.
Okay,
man.
all right. So we'll fast forward that.
And I'm going to show you the next point. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so she decides that she is not going to go to school.
Yep.
She goes directly all the way down to the bottom, all the way down to mechanical, and forges a letter saying that her dad said that she can come down there and she can basically just live there and work there.
Yep.
And, she turns out she loves it. She enjoys being down there. That's the first time she actually meets
Walker,
and
Knox,
it also seems
and Shirley, right?
Yeah,
she meets all of them.
But it also seems like Walker knew her mom.
Yes,
which is kind of interesting because she's from the way down deep and she's in the mids,
and she never leaves her place.
But let's also not forget that she also knows the mayor as well. So she knows some people on the top. Yeah. She knew the mayor's. God rest her soul. You got the top mayor, and then you got the mids. So she knows some people. She's got a past that we need to learn about at some point.
Yeah, and she's broken a ton of rules with relics, and nobody, not even a slap in the wrist. So she's being protected from up high.
Right. But so Juliette loves it down there. She wants to stay. Walker knows something's up because apparently Juliette can't spell mechanical. There's an H in there. She didn't know about it.
Did I know about the H in there?
Huh?
Did I know about the H in there? Don't give me a spelling test on spelling mechanical now.
Spelling. So Walker contacts the dad. The dad comes down there, and the dad becomes okay with it. The dad asks her if she's happy. She says she's happy, and he's basically leaving.
He won the lottery, bro. The bad dad lottery. He won. He could justify dumping his daughter to the down bottom, the horrible world they call the down low, and he could justify his sleep at night by saying she loves it down there. She likes fixing stuff. I don't have to parent her. I'm a bachelor now. I'm living the life. He's a horrible dad.
I don't think it's
horrible dad.
What I think it is that he knows. I think you're right about being a horrible dad. And I think he knows that he's being a horrible dad because he's not processing what else is happening in his life. And so it's filtering towards her and it's screwing her up.
Yep.
So
pass the buck.
She's right. She is very good at doing fixing things mechanically and stuff like that. She's happy down there. That's the best thing that he could do for her at that time.
Win-win.
I don't think he's thinking she's gone. Let's go find out if there is a red light district in this area. What floor is that on?
He's already down there.
It's
I bet you
floor,
that's the first place he went. That's the first place he went, bro. He's just a bad dad,
That's not
man.
what he did.
Dude.
All right. So
he got the best of both worlds. She's happy and she's out of my hair. I don't have to grieve, teach her how to handle grieving, none of that. I don't have to do any of that emotional stuff. I get to flip babies around in people's bellies and go visit floor 69.
Floor 69. On that note, this would be a good time to remind everybody about our Patreon page. If you've made it this far, you need to go to our Patreon page. Help support us finance these wonderful podcasts that you're listening to by going to our Patreon page. And if you can't support us with moolah, don't worry about it. You can support us by liking us, by clicking the follow button, the like button,
subscribe,
and the friendship button, and the subscribe button.
Yeah.
Don't forget to tell your significant other or that person that your significant other doesn't know about. Who knows who it is? Just tell people. You can go to the 7-Eleven at 2 o'clock in the morning like we do and get some Starbucks Frappuccinos. And while you're there talking to the clerk, tell them about this podcast you're listening to because it's amazing. So go check out our Patreon page.
Information below.
Back to you. Okay, so now that we've got the flashback stuff out of the way, let's check out Marnes and his disastrous policing, his disastrous
sleuthing detective work
because this guy's just a wreck.
He's Batman without the skill.
Oh my God. So next time we see Marnes, Juliette's she's been sworn in. She's in her office. She gets she's got the code to the safe now. She's had her altercation with the secretary,
Sandy,
and she's going through some files and she gets a call on the radio. She's not answering it. Sandy comes in and goes, "Hey, why aren't you listening to the radio?" And she's like, "I don't think that's your job. It's Marnes." And it turns out that Marnes is going there as down at one of the floors, beating the crap out of somebody in front of small children.
Because the guy made Bad Booze a year earlier that killed a couple of people.
Marnes is on a revenge tour, and what he's looking for is just anybody that he can just punch in the face.
Yeah.
And so he's clearly drunk. He's just making poor choices left and right. So Juliette reminds him that there's other people watching him and reminds him that there's children watching him. And he's like, "Why aren't you in school?" And they're like, "It's lunchtime." So anyways, on that note, let's all go to the cafeteria. So this is when you kind of see like a small bond that could be happening between Juliette and Marnes.
They have a good conversation.
They have a conversation. She tells him why she's there. Like basically, "Hey, I had this whole deal worked out with the sheriff. He
was going to send me a sign.
He's going to help me figure out, basically what happened to my significant other."
Mm-hmm.
And in the process, like they just had they had a special bond to happen between them. And she shared that with Marnes. It was interesting that she decided to tell him that. She kind of told him everything. It's the fact that that the sheriff kind of knew that it was murder,
mm-hmm.
and he decided not to tell anybody, not to tell judicial, and not to put it in the report because he thought it would have been bad. So, but he was going to still do some other investigating work within that year, and he was supposed to let her know. And she never heard from him again. Next time that she actually saw him was when he was out, cleaning. But she did get his badge, and on the back of the badge said truth. And so she took that as the sign that he found something out. She needed to come up now, kind of take his place and figure it out. So she makes a deal with Marnes. "You help me figure this out. I'll help you figure out who killed the mayor."
Yeah, I think she said it because I there's nothing. Marnes obviously doesn't want her to be the sheriff because of experience, right? That's really the only reason. So she doesn't view him as somebody who could be part of this grand conspiracy to, hide who or what, why, and who killed, George. So I think it's okay for her to kind of trust him in this sense because his mind is on finding the truth. He even mentioned it,
right.
About the truth. So I can see why she would be, if anybody to open up to, it would be Marnes.
Yeah.
She's not opening up to Sims or to Bernard or to Sandy or anybody. So I can see why.
Yeah, and I get it. So we never actually hear him say take her up on the deal. Next scene that we see is them waiting out front of some other place.
Yeah, somebody else's house.
Yeah, and
we're introduced to Patrick Kennedy.
Patrick Kennedy, played by Rick Gomez, who is the voice of Bravo. At least he was the voice of Bravo, and I used to record his voiceover stuff here.
Oh, cool.
But turns out they're there to talk to his wife.
Yeah.
His wife's been dead for a year, and the husband blames Marnes for it because he says that he framed her.
Yeah.
Which I thought that was kind of interesting.
Yeah.
And then punches him in the face.
Yeah. Now they're back.
Yeah. And now we're back on the wounded tour again.
Yeah. He's back in his apartment.
Yeah. Putting ice on, like Juliette gets ice, puts it on his nose. They have another conversation of Marnes just being a little bit of a lunatic, not really handling things well.
No.
And
he's still drunk. Lost the love of his life.
Yeah. And that's when you find out that Marnes actually did not take up Juliette on the offer. He says he'll think about it.
He'll think about it, and because she's still trying to, he's still trying to convince him to help. She's doing a little bit better job of asking the right kind of questions and about both cases.
Right.
But he's not trying to hear that. And when she's leaving, she even offers to get him somebody at the door.
Put a deputy out front.
And he says, "I'm good. I got a shotgun."
Yeah. Well, we're going to find out later that he should have went the deputy route. But also she does mention to him, which could be interesting if it actually does fall into the theory of what I think happens to her mom. She does say hey, shotguns could be used for other things that might seem like a good idea, like suicide, right? Or implying that, and he kind of just says that's not what it is.
Yeah.
But however, No, however,
Did you see the painting, the drawing? She notices that.
She knows there's a relationship. And I thought she was going to call him out on it, and she didn't. I thought she was going to be like, so how long were you guys together? He's like, well, actually a day. It took me 40 years. But it's interesting, though, that you do see like somewhat of a kind, it's not a montage because there's no music behind it, but you see like these cut scenes where it looks like he might be preparing to hang himself.
Yeah.
But he's actually going into Rocky mode.
Yeah.
Which is, so he goes and he takes up, it looks like his part of his bed, his mattress.
Yeah, he rolls it up.
He rolls up his mattress and he hangs it and he just makes it a punching bag and starts.
He does a 5-hit combo.
He's training to go whip some more ass because he's got.
That's the best way he knows that.
He's on that revenge tour, so he's going to punch somebody out. So it's interesting that Common shows up.
Sims,
yeah, he's got his Velcro beard on. Perfectly
manicured goatee in the silo.
Classic.
I mean, in the apocalypse, he looks fresh, man. Common took the role. Like, wait a minute, people are living in a dirty silo. In the apocalypse, I'm still gotta look fresh though. I gotta keep a nice. I got a barber in judicial that keeps me lined up. I respect that.
I wouldn't be like, you go into his room and he's got like all these artifacts though.
Yeah,
but it's like Juliette
beard oil,
razors and
beard oil.
Because that thing looks pretty sharp.
Oh, for sure.
It looks like it's Velcro.
And then his head is well shaven. You know he's using beaver fur to rub the shaving cream on his head. You know he's using classic stuff like that. He ain't using typical washcloths. Authentic beaver, man. That's what he's using to rub that shaving cream on his head.
Oh man,
fresh. You know, I have a shaved head. I don't even use Juliette. I use Venus. The women's razors, the best. FYI, if anybody wants a smooth cut, no bumps, triple blade Venus razors that your wife uses on her legs, buy those for yourself. The best smooth shave for your head.
That's so funny. My wife uses my razors. Because I have $3 Shave Club.
Yeah.
So she uses my razors from that. That's what she uses.
I use Venus's, man. They're the best.
This podcast took a turn for the worst.
I'm giving grooming advice here. Keep going.
Think about Common's beard
and
how to shave your head.
It looks good. But he's there, and him and Marnes obviously have some kind of rapport over time because they're cracking. They're talking about beers, about Billings, putting Billings in this, guy Billings, and Marnes is like, let's hold off, let's wait. I think he says something about let Juliette basically
fail on her own.
But
he has this look where it seems like he doesn't think that bringing in this other guy's a smart move. It has nothing to do with actually like, let's let her fail, because
I agree.
And his reasoning is because we don't want to like send a bad thing or set a bad message down to
the bottom.
To mechanical or something like that. So that's his reasoning. But it turns out it's either that he does actually start to like Juliette, that he thinks that she might be doing a good job,
possibly,
or he thinks that he can, rely on her to be, an ally through whatever's going on. Because I don't think Marnes truly trusts judicial, and so bringing somebody in from judicial is not going to help his cause as far as finding out who took out the mayor.
And remember, the mayor was adamantly against judicial shoving somebody up there, whatever. So that's pretty good.
Yeah. So, but you see them, they have that conversation. They cling their beers. What's best for the silo? Boom, boom.
For the silo.
And so then, Common leaves, goes home, takes his beard off, relaxes for a while. But then you see, I think the next scene is you see Juliette. It's like now apparently it's nighttime in the silo. Juliette goes to where the cafeteria is, and she meets a guy there who looks like he's drawing stuff out into he's
looking at the stars and the darkness,
of
the outside world,
right? And it's just I feel like that's going to build into something else later on.
Because they keep teasing that. That's the second time you've seen him.
Yeah.
You saw him. His name is Lucas, by the way. We saw him last episode just sitting there and said, oh, I'll be out in a little bit.
Yeah.
And then she's like, she doesn't care. She's not paying any mind. She's like, whatever.
So I wonder.
So that's twice we've seen him.
Yeah. So I wonder, because I just need some conspiracy theory going on as far as like what the outside is. Since that guy's constantly watching that screen. It seems like.
You think he saw the blip? The blimp?
I think he saw the blip, or maybe he saw something else that's going to come into play later on, that he might just be like, bring bring to Juliette, like, hey, check this out, what I saw or something. Something's got to happen.
Because he tried to tell her something, and he said something about, can I tell you something that might get you arrested? And she doesn't know the rules, so she was like, I don't know, whatever.
Or not.
And he just like, brushed it off. So he has something he's trying to kind of tell her.
I think he said, I think I said something that could get me arrested.
Oh, that's what he said.
Yeah, and she's like, well, I don't really know.
Yeah, she has no freaking clue. What kind of cop is this, man? You didn't read the manual, man?
It's been day one yet. She's gotten off of, like, she's just on the introduction of how to put a belt on properly. Who knows? She
got sworn in. We saw that, too.
We did see her get sworn in. Nice little ceremony inside her apartment. That was pretty nice.
And she admitted to commandeering that tape that she was accused of stealing.
Right.
I mean, we kind of missed over that. But her and Bernard, they had I think Bernard is kind of on her side, believe it or not.
I kind of like Bernard. At first I thought maybe Bernard might have been like a judicial person, like even though I'm not saying judicial's bad because we really don't know anything about them yet. But it seems like he's just a kind of a straight shooter kind of person.
Yeah, a numbers guy.
Yeah. So, I mean, maybe something might come into play later, especially because it's played by Tim Robbins. Tim Robbins is such a big actor. To have him come in and play like kind of like a low-level role in this show, because I feel like it's got to become something much bigger later on because it's Tim Robbins.
Yeah, of course. And I think if anybody's in her corner right now, it's only him, really.
Seemed like it was.
Marnes is starting to turn, maybe.
It is. But so let's go to the next scene though. So Juliette, I think she tries to radio Marnes, and Marnes doesn't answer. Right? He's outside now. He's just walking the silo with a beer. Just kind of like, hey, how's it going? Reminiscing on the time that he finally let someone else make a move on him after 40 years. About
You're not gonna let him go.
About the mayor's kiss. So I think she tries to radio Marnes. He doesn't answer. But then Juliette gets on Walker gets on the walkie, and they have a brief conversation about how's it going, but it seems like it's kind of in code. They don't really talk about too much.
Yeah, the camera.
But she does say like, hey, she asks her if she found an ally or something like that. And so she says that she thinks that she did.
Yeah.
And she's referring to Marnes.
Yep.
And so obviously Marnes knows that. And he's listening in on the walkie-talkie as he's walking around, trying to figure out like what she's saying. Whether it's like, hey, why are you even talking to someone down below?
Yeah.
What is the conversation about? Or if he's just trying to get a sense of what kind of character that she actually has.
Yeah.
Either way,
I think it helps, again, push Marnes closer to really becoming that ally. Just him listening to that conversation.
Yeah.
I think after hearing that, I think he's leaning towards probably agreeing to helping her.
Yeah. But you do see at the end of that scene, after Walker gets off the walkie, she still has the camcorder.
Yeah.
And it looks like she tells Juliette, like, hey, you need to come down here. I've got something to show you. And she has the camcorder in her hand. So maybe she's figured this thing out.
Yep.
And maybe we're going to see some video on there.
Yep.
So, I mean, it's probably going to be
the outside world, birds and what else?
It's going to be
people
like,
swimming.
It's going to be a little league game about baseball. And they're like, what the heck are they doing?
They probably have no idea about planes. They're going to see planes, all kinds of stuff. Keep going.
Yeah, probably. Okay. So now we get Marnes goes back to his place.
Yep.
And there's some dude waiting for him, which I've never seen this guy
No,
yet.
we have not seen this guy.
Yeah, so I don't know who this is.
He's clean-shaven. Yeah. All in black.
They have a decent tussle. Marnes holds his own.
Marnes should have finished this guy off. He had him face down on the floor. He could have given him a couple of kidney shots, make him pee blood, and then he could have took his head and smacked it on the floor. He just gets up.
Yeah, like, there was two beer bottles sitting there that he's been drinking. Yeah. He could have took both of them, smacked this guy in the head a couple times.
Took on a table or break one of the chairs with one arm, like he broke Mayor Jahns' chair and started beating him with it.
He's been working out. We saw him with the bag. Yeah. He punched that thing at least 6 times.
Yeah. I mean, and the guy looked a lot younger than him, and he had him on the ground, and he still let him, he just got up.
Yeah.
To go get the gun, right?
He went to go get the gun. Turns out the guy decided to try to beat up Marnes, but then afterwards, the
guy had the gun.
The guy already had the gun. I don't know. He just set it down to try to beat him up first, and he's like, this isn't working, so I'm just going to grab the gun. So the scene ends with the gun being pointed at Marnes.
Yeah.
And that's pretty much it. No, I'm sorry, that's not it, because in the next scene we actually see Juliette. She's in the apartment complex. She's in her apartment, which used to be the old sheriff's.
I don't know if we got
Halstead's.
those scenes in the right order, but we get the idea.
No, Halstead, Holston's apartment.
Yeah.
She finds the envelope.
Oh yeah, you're right. That's the last scene.
Yeah, in the vents, and it's got. I don't know if she pulls the hard drive out. Did you see the hard drive?
It was just the
just
file.
Files and stuff like that. And so it's the files of her boyfriend that she was looking for.
Yeah, because Holston used the same technique that George used to with the string, pull it, and here's a bag. And here's the stuff, but she did not pull the hard drive out of there, just his files.
Yeah,
and it looked just pretty generic. It looked like just a.
She has this look on her face like she
file.
sees something there, but we went and rewound it. Yeah. We rewound it, which is there's no such thing anymore. Yeah. We went backwards, and I didn't see anything that should have stuck out.
No, it looked like his
to
school records, a picture of him.
Yeah,
which I didn't even think they had cameras there because I remember in the first couple episodes, every picture people had were like hand drawings.
Maybe they just got a really good caricature guy just sits there and just draws everybody like that for their files.
You know, so I was kind of surprised to see an actual photo.
There's an artist level.
An artist level.
It's just people just learning how to draw.
Yeah, not looking good for Marnes, man.
It's not. All right, so that episode didn't have as much movement as far as like the conspiracy theory stuff, but it did have somewhat action. It did have action.
Yeah.
And it, we got to know a little bit more about Juliette and her background and stuff.
Yeah.
So that was pretty nice. Overall, if I had to rate this episode out of the 4 that we've seen so far, I would say this is the weakest out of them. Yeah. But it's still not a bad episode.
No.
It also just like it just makes me still scratch my head as far as like their ability to share stories with each other through generations. I can understand if you don't want to
exactly.
I can understand if you don't want to talk about like the government. Maybe they were like, you can't talk about the government. You can't talk about like how the world perished outside.
Yeah, fell apart.
But to pass on simple things like birds and flying and like all
what are you
things?
doing all day when you're quote unquote working? Like you guys don't talk.
Yeah,
like it makes no sense. Like the guys in mechanical who are
ain't no
fixing
shows.
Stuff.
There's nothing else to do. There can't be that many books because you burned them all.
Yeah, you work whatever stupid job you have at the silo, and then you go home.
Right.
Like nobody talks. I mean, it's ridiculous.
Yeah. But anyways. Still liking the show. Looking forward to the next episode.
I think it's a good show. I really do.
If we can find some time tomorrow, I don't know how we do it, but we can probably try to do episode 5. But I don't think we're going to hit that until probably next week. Yeah. But I do know that I think episode 8's coming out. Weekend. Yeah, 8's coming out this Friday. You guys don't know. You guys are.
Happy Father's Day. You're a far better father than Juliette's father. He's a bum.
And
I don't care if he's a doctor.
I say the same to you, sir. Good Jay.
Yeah. I don't care if he's a doctor. He's a bum.
All right, I think that's going to wrap this episode.
They can age him as much as they want. He's still a bum.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the podcast. If you've made it all the way to the end of this episode, which
Fancy
I know
accent, and he's still a bum.
It might have been painful, but you made it. So you should be rewarded by heading over to our Patreon page. Head over to that Patreon page. Send us some moolah. Send us some dough. Help us. Help Max buy some new... What kind of razors are you using? Venus razors. Help support his balding head.
I'm not balding. I shave. Well, I am balding.
I do want to get Common's beard, though, and Velcro that on. Help me get a Common beard. But if you can't do that, no worries. Just hit the subscribe, the like, and the follow buttons. And, don't forget to share this episode with your friends or people that you hate. Either way, it's going to be a good thing for you.
He's a mid-level bum of a father.
On that note, have a good day. Have a good night.
See ya.
Whatever it is, we'll catch you next time. Bye-bye.
Music by Kyle Torme. Subscribe to the Extremist podcast feed at rogerbrainmedia.com/The Extremist. Subscribe to Roger Brain Media feed at rogerbrainmedia.com and support Roger Brain Media by visiting patreon.com/rogerbrainmedia.